we'll start talking about Death Knights of Valkrill, and I'm going to give my voice a rest. Josiah, would you like to read the stat cards of Death Knights?
I would indeed. All right, so we have the Death Knights of Valkrill. They have soul weapons. Figures attacked by a Death Knight of Valkrill subtract 2 from their defense dice. Destructible objects are not affected by soul weapons. They have Unholy Bonding. Before taking a turn with the Death Knights of Valkrill, you may first take a turn with any small, medium, or large relentless hero you control. They're undead common squads, size 2. They're Death Knights, not Knights. Don't get that mixed up. Tormented, medium 5. Move 5, range 1, attack 2, and a hardy defense of 5. That's 60 points.
That's 60 points, and there's only two. There's only 2 of them. So what's the ratio then there, Ken, for that? If there's only 2 miniatures per squad?
That's tricky because you only see this with this in the Bezos, and these are only bonding ones, so it's tricky. I want to say at least 6, but they're a little pricey, so it just depends.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I might personally be using these come ScapeCon because more than likely I'm gonna have a Raylan, an AOA Raylan with me. I'm gonna have a Levy attack.
Well, what's interesting about these guys is I think these guys get these out of all the things coming out get the biggest buff, for lack of a better term, with the new stuff, because I think the new Raylan and the new Leviathan really work well with these guys. The funny thing is that, and I'm pretty sure my NDA is way expired, so I can say this, but the original Knights, when we were playtesting them for D&D, they actually did -3 defense. So the fact that we brought Raylan back to give them an extra -1 defense that we actually really had them originally in the playtesting at -3, I think is ironic to me. And there's probably like 3 other people that know that, but so that's pretty interesting to me. Mike and I released EscapeCon pools, and we have a Death Knight pool with Raylan Leviatech, so we've been play testing those quite a bit for those pools. And I'll tell you what, don't sleep on Raylan. She does a lot of she doesn't look quite as good from just from the outside, but when you're playing her with the Death Knights, and even her 6 life 3 defense in double space, people can put waste a lot of attack to her, and then at the same time, you're doing lots of other things with the other squad figures while they're trying to do that. And what's cool is I think it was Bigger Bullfrog that suggested, or maybe it was Super Frog. I get the frogs mixed up, but we have her in the Wandering Monster tournament for the old man. So she can give -1 defense to every figure on the board because everybody's not going to be on her team, unless So that's going to be pretty exciting. So. But now I'm sounding like we're talking about Raylan more than I am the Death Knights. But anyway,
and this only I think applies to you and me as far as the old man.
But I don't think the Death Knights are very good. I wish they were better. I think they are going to get a little bit better. I don't think it's better enough to make them a high tier pick. The best I've ever done a tournament with these guys is 5-1 one year at Tree Town, but I've just never quite been able to get over the hump with these guys. But they're not bad, but they're not good either. So Mike probably has them around a B, would be my guess in his rankings, because I think his rankings are a little high. I put him more like a B-, but
here, let me take a look real quick. Do I have?
I have him at a B-. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you got him at a B-. Yeah, and I think they're all B-s here. Yeah, from folks there.
Yeah, so, I keep on losing to that army with Death Knights and Rayland. It's just you're just not really in defense if you're kind of going more for kind of a melee oriented lower defense army. I think it was running like Warriors of Ashra or something against them, and I wasn't even rolling any defense against them, and I was sure you could just wipe the board with these guys on me.
I plan to skirmish these Death Knights, Raylan, Levy attack on a stream, on one of my streams this Wednesday. I have an army built up. I use proxies and just see how they do against, say, Firestorm, against Death Chasers and others, and see what I've built up is actually sustainable as an army. So I'm looking forward to trying them out because I've never played them before. So, Nick, do you have anything to say about these guys?
Not a ton, but they got big defense, which is nice. That bonding they can use, make it so you can move 3 at a time, which is okay. But when you only get 2 per squad, it's really tough to do anything really effective with them, especially with no range.
Right.
But it is an excuse to kind of use Sir Hawthorne.
Yeah.
But other than that, I've only used them once or twice, like you were saying. They look pretty cool, but I think with the AOA, yeah, they're gonna get quite a bit better, but just not. It's still gonna be kind of average, in my opinion. But yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say about them.
Okay, and I think that's one thing to seriously consider, though, is the fact that, and this is the same issue I have with Mezzademon Warmongers. I love those guys, but there are only 2, and in essence, you can only really move 2 across the board to get anything done. It's not like you can move a bunch of these across the board in any fast pace at all.
Right.
And it's my fear that it's the same with these guys. You could have multiple squads of these.
You can get overwhelmed.
I mean, how much damage are they really going to be able to deliver? So, in a sense, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mike or Ken, but would they be more considered like a unique hero buff, basically? Then just standing by the hero, giving them buff, and the hero taking out opposing armies.
No, I think like their big thing is 5 defense, right? So they're not super easy to kill. So and they have a lot. They probably have more bonding options than the Romans do, but they have tons of different synergies you can do. Like you can do air elementals, you can do Doom Attack, you can do Kosamet. I don't know why you would. You could do the Venok Warlord. You can do Sir Hawthorne. They got these two new guys coming out with AOA. So there's lots of different avenues you can take them in. Like you could do something weird where you have Death Knights, Venok Warlord, and Aubrey and Archers because you want the frenzy bonus. So you could do lots of interesting stuff. Like you could do a Kosamet, Dumatef, Death Knight, try to do something cool with the Manubians or Wolf's Bedrew or something. I mean, at that point you're already losing.
So they're very versatile in that way.
Yeah, I mean, like they have a lot of different options. The problem is none of them are amazing, right? Like when you talk about like the Knights, you have like Sir Gilbert. Like there's you have Grimnack with the heavies, right? And with the dwarves, you actually have a lot of good options with the dwarves. So like actually all 4 of those characters are pretty decent. And Meagle's the worst one, and he's actually at least a B or B plus, right? So, but with the Death Knights, like all of theirs are just kind of average, except maybe Raylan's going to be pretty decent. So that's kind of I think their biggest downfall. And 30 points is a lot for only activate if they were 90 points, you got to do 3 of them. They might actually be more playable because you got to do 3 activations per turn plus your champion. But 60 points for 30 points, like that's a little high in my opinion.
What points are they dealt?
55.
55. Okay, slightly.
So Adam 5 points, yeah, but but like you can get Doom and Test I think for 15 and Kosamet for like probably negative 40 points or something in Delta. You probably get points back when you draft Kosamet, but anyway, so like so like in Delta that they maybe have a better shot. I don't know, but like that's their biggest problem really is 3 activations per turn. When like with Alistair McDurk the Knights at 6, right? With Mogrim, this Commander Strike that's 6 kind of, right? So like Niflheim and the 3 green scales at 6. So like you're getting 3. Like I guess if Hawthorne does his blind rage like crazy, you might get 15 or whatever, but like on average you're getting 3 at the most. But I think that's their biggest downfall. I don't know, Mike or somebody jump in, but
yeah, I mean, I think they got a couple things. One, I think they are harder to play than most other bonding melee because you have to really slow roll them and you have to really understand the slow roll, right? Because if I take 4 knights and push them too far forward against something like, let's say, 4th Mass or whatever, and the 4th Mass shoot and kill, let's say, 2 of those knights, I can still engage with 2. I might just get lucky and like engage with 2 knights and then get 2 kills and not be as punished for my mistake. But if I push really far forward with 1 squad of Death Knights, they kill those 2 Death Knights, I'm now starting another 2 all the way from the back of the start zone, right? So it becomes really important how you play them. And like if you, I mean, maybe you get lucky just because they have 5 defense, but if you're getting shot 4 times by fourth mass, you're going to die, right? So you got to make sure that you are slow rolling this and developing this properly. You know, we've talked about it on the Casters of Valhalla a lot, but basically you want to get your army up, get the whole army up, or as much of it as possible. And that's like the first step to playing them better than you, and I don't mean you and targeted towards anybody, but just general you are currently playing them, right? Like that's the first step, is to learn to slow roll and be diligent. Like if you start getting shot, you just have to accept it and still get more guys up, because if you don't, you're going to get punished really hard, because then you're just going to have a hero up there doing nothing, getting 1 attack per turn and getting murdered by fourth mass because you're busy moving the next squad up from your start zone. So I think they're hard to play, or harder to play than others. I think issue 2 is that they don't have any immunities to make up for the fact that they're 30 points per figure, right? So it's not like they're Soulborgs, which would allow them to avoid being plagued by the Morrow Hounds, or even the Marden Hounds, or even chill touched by Cyprian. You also aren't large, which means you're still affected by Cyberclaw. You're affected by Chomp, and you're affected by Braxis and Black Wormlings, and there's just a whole host of these auto kill, auto wound abilities that really the Death Knights don't like to play into, and the Death Knights already aren't great into a bunch of stuff like 4th Mass or 10th Regiment. Q9 Rats is hard for them too. I mean, what are you supposed to do against Q9 Rats? Like, the other armies all have plays into that. Gilbert can dispatch, knights to get free, quote unquote free disengage activations. Heavies have disengage, period. Dwarves at least are 4 defense while they're getting shot. And you're activating 5 of them a turn. You can also, or 4 of them plus a hero, plus Mogrim gives you the commander strike to get through the screen. You've also got me Berxa with both the Romans and the Chasers, paralyzed stare to get through the screen. And what do you have with Death Knights? You bond with Raylan, and she is -1 defense to their rats when their Raylan's giving +2, and that's just kind of rough. So I think that's, issue that touches on then issue number 3, which is the bonding heroes, as Ken mentioned, just aren't the best. I agree with Ken that Raylan is probably the best right now. Before, I think it was a toss-up between Dumatef, Air Elemental, and Venoch Warlord. Venoch Warlord, I liked just to play super aggressively, to buy time more than anything. He's got 7 move, can run around, hit stuff with 4 dice, and it always feels bad shooting Venoch Warlord because he has 6 life, and you're like, why am I wasting attacks into a 6 life hero that isn't, at the end of the day, doing that much? Dumatef Guard 5/5 on a lot of maps, because a lot of maps use road or castle, so I think he's solid too for 25 points. And then Air Elemental is just very oppressive into melee, so I think like before it was kind of a toss-up, like either you go Mittens with a couple Dumatefs, or maybe you go mainly Dumatefs with an air or 2 errors thrown in. Now I think you probably do want Raylan. I'm less convinced on Leviatech. I think Leviatech's good. My issue with Leviatech is, for some reason, and probably I don't know if it's licensing or what it is, but like, unfortunately they're Valkrill, so they don't get the move buff. To me, that's a huge oversight. I would have absolutely said that if you have both Leviatech and another Ukkar Kyrie, your Valkrill squads also get that +1 move, because these guys with 6 move all of a sudden means that, if they do get shot and survive, you have a better chance of being able to engage, right? I think that would have also been a way to improve them. So without that, is it really worth spending 180 points on both Raylan and Leviatech? And I don't know the answer to that yet. My current thought is that no, you probably want Raylan as your main bonder. I think she's better than I thought she was. That -1 defense aura is actually pretty big. That does mean that, because it affects her own attacks as well, so her 3-die attack starts looking a lot closer to Mitten's 4-die attack. Plus she's 20 points cheaper, plus she's giving a buff to the Death Knights, a pseudo buff to the Death Knights, because they're able to kill a little easier too. So I'd still like to see a better option. I can hit the nail on the head with the other squads just have better options for bonding. That's the bottom line, is that,
for sure.
Dwarves have Mogrim or Dorum, Heavies have Grimneck and Nirak. Knights have Gilbert, and if not Gilbert, they have Alistair. I mean, a double attacking, overextending hero would also work. That that would also be a buff for the Death Knights. Chasers have Berksa and Nirak, and now Adelburn, and then the Ogres aren't bad. Romans get Marcus, they get Berksa, both phenomenal bonding options. They even got Valgard to hit stuff with 4 dice, but usually you're not taking him. So it's just you're just kind of left scratching your head a little bit as to why would I play these guys specifically over any of the other options? I think that's their downfall, right? And currently I think the answer is still you want it, but I mean, I think there are things they could do in the future to make these guys a little better. I think they just really need to give some sort of support hero for them, something that directly supports them. Kind of like what they did for the dwarves with Dorum. Jury's still out as to whether Dorum's worth it, but Dorum does directly support the dwarves by giving them that extra move, right? I'd like to see something like, what if Dorum had worked for these guys, giving them an extra move if Dorum got an attack, obviously it wouldn't work for a dwarf to be doing it for the Death Knights, thematically or whatever, but that sort of power, something to just give them something, that just helps them specifically, right? That would be a pretty big step to improving their viability.
Okay. And now, real quick, because, so Death Knights, I mean, it seems like they have a little bit of boost, but probably not enough. Probably take more play testing and see how they just run in tournaments in the future. Let's explore a little bit of the lore behind these characters. So, again, character bio, Death Knights are warriors who choose to come back and fight on even after death. Our Death Knight carries its soul in its weapon. The weapon has the power to become ghostly and pierce armor as if it were not there. Jeremy, anything else we can say about these?
Oh yeah, Death Knights are cool. Lore wise, I mean, nice. we were talking about the mechanics, and I mean, I feel like they definitely have potential. I've seen them do some pretty crazy stuff, and then I've also seen it kind of just fall through, like we've discussed. But the lore of the Death Knight is some of the cool. I'll have to say, at least as far as I know, Death Knight's one of the older concepts of Dungeons and Dragons. It's been around for a very long time, since Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, so second edition or so. I mean, they've been around for a while. So they're in it, they're part of that, I guess you say the foundation of what Dungeons and Dragons is defined as. And so this, of course, in reference to when it came out, right? It came out during 4th edition. So I'm just going to read this little cool lore bit about them, and then I promise I'll cut myself off. But so the lore. Death Knights share some similarities with liches, and that they're people who became undead through a profane ritual so they could live forever. The main difference here is that they were great warriors instead of potent spellcasters. The ritual is also a bit different. Instead of binding their soul to a phylactery, it binds it to their favored weapon, which becomes known as their soul weapon, aka what's named on the card. Death Knights retain their memories and abilities they had in life, but the ritual distorts their personality into something much nastier than it used to be. Not that they were all nice to begin with, of course. Becoming a Death Knight is a choice, and the ritual itself is an extremely evil act. Still, it's common for them to retain a twisted version of whatever code of honor they followed before. Maybe a Death Knight will wax poetic about how it fell from grace while it guts you. You can expect them to always be superlative combatants and have great skill leading troops. Even non-sapient skeletons become more dangerous under the command of a Death Knight. There you go. So that's a little flavor text, right? Dude, Death Knights are just so, they're visually stunning.
Yeah,
they've been a part of the game for a long time. And
Justin saying they're fantastic sculpts, yeah.
Yeah, great material. When I saw them come out for Heroscape, I was super excited because it was I've been playing with Death Knights for years, pre-Heroscape, so it's they've been around. They're like the contemporary fantasy experience for me. It's I've known about Death Knights forever, so pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, and Teamski is saying 5 defense is deceiving with only 2 figures they can whiff hard. Yep. That's one thing to consider. But yeah, it's I mean,
Good lore, rough on the mechanics.
Good lore, kind of rough on the mechanics, although probably a little bit more improved with what's being released in AOA. And who knows?
No,
there might be something else released in AOA that might, buff them even more. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. But when it comes to the actual financial cost for these, I think they're more expensive than Death Chasers, perfectly honest. So
Right.
definitely, if you want these, consider 3D printed, painted. There's plenty of options out there. I've personally taken my 3D printer, and not the best 3D printed sculpts, but they work for proxies, and I painted them the best I could, and so voila, I have 4 squads now. So we'll see what I can do with them in the future. Definitely be playing them on live stream this coming Wednesday, so we'll see how they do. So
Nice.
for your consider for these, I mean, if you want to play them, if you want something that bonds well, with Evo Raylan, it might be an option. So definitely consider it. They have great lore. Possibly can be great fun during casual tournament play. So check them out if you would like to consider them for your Heroscape collection.